Hello day right here on Y254 with me, Shiko Kaitani. We sure hope that you are enjoying the program so far. Now, the British Council is the UK's international organization for cultural relations and educational opportunities. And on the 17th of April this year, a report was released by the British Council, releasing details on the aspirations, hopes and fears of the Kenyan youth. Now, this report is known as the Next Generation Kenya report, and I had promised you earlier on we are going to be talking a little bit about it. And so in studio with me, I'm very pleased to have Tony Riley, who is the country director of the British Council. We also do have Michael Opondo, who is the Next Generation Kenya Task Force member, and then we also do have Jacqueline Madenge, who is also a task force member of Next Generation Kenya. So welcome to studio.
Thank you.
Hi, lady and gentlemen. Thank you. We're really glad to have you. And I think this is a very exciting project that you've got going on. Yeah. So how about we start off by explaining what Next Generation Kenya report is all about? Maybe we can start with you, Tony.
Let me start. The British Council have done a series of pieces of research and reports on the next generation in many countries. So last week, Kenya's young voices were added to the voices of Nigeria, Pakistan, UK, Colombia, Tanzania, South Africa, and now Kenya. So basically it's a project to try and give voice to young people, to listen to their voices, amplify their voices, and hopefully affect youth policies. Okay,
all right, Jackie, what really drove you, can I just call you guys as an organization to actually go ahead and say, you know what, we really need to do this?
So as Tony has said, it's a global series, and the young people in Kenya are among one of the youth population in Kenya is very high. It's much higher than the global rate, as well as even in Africa. So because of that, then it made sense to conduct a similar study in Kenya, which is why we embarked on this. So as the members of the task force, we actually, when British Council put out the call, we applied to be volunteers to the task force and to be able to inform policy, because it directly affects us as young people. So the composition of the task force is national, it's nationwide. So we have people from Kisumu, from Oranga, from Nairobi. So the input, even as the members of the task force, was very good.
I can imagine what it took to actually get this report done. Michael, maybe now you can tell us about these findings. What are some of the key issues that actually stood out from, you know, your research on the ground?
Well, the most obvious ones are unemployment. Unemployment is a big issue in Kenya, especially compared to the other countries in East Africa. In as much as Kenya is a strong economy in Eastern Africa, we are still suffering in terms of the turnover from schools into employment. And that also brings to the second issue that we found out, which is education. The quality of education in Kenya is not equipping young people to transition well into the employment world. And then the other issue that came out very strongly was youth's engagement in policy making, in the civic space, basically. Those are the three main issues that came out.
Tony, I took a look at, you know, an overview of the report, and for me, what I did realize is that a lot of young Kenyans are actually trying to look for opportunities outside the country. So brain drain is an issue. What do you think you know, young people need to do to actually discover those opportunities here in Kenya?
Well, the report, which is based on extensive research, this isn't just a group of people trying to say what young people are fearful of. I mean, we conducted in-depth focus groups across the country. There were household surveys, 4,014 household surveys in every county in Kenya. So the findings are based on robust research. You're absolutely right. I mean, Kenyans are, I mean, one of the big findings, 91% said they loved Kenya. And they wanted,
that was very impressive.
And they want to shape Kenya's future. However, they're also realistic about the competition for opportunities. And therefore, they're saying, we want to stay here, we want to build our country, it is our country, we are proud of it. However, if the opportunities do not present themselves, whether it's employment, education, participation in public life, we would consider travelling somewhere else, and 71% said they would consider travelling to another city or country in pursuit of those opportunities so that they can use their talents.
So what do you think, what do you think needs to be the turning point here? I mean, is it the government who needs to start doing something, or can young people also?
I think it's everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, Jackie's about to come in here, but I mean, I don't want to speak for young people. The next generation research and forming the task force is very much about giving a platform for young people to say what matters to them. So maybe Jackie's best to take this one.
Yes, it's the government. However, one of the key things that as a task force we were keen on making sure that we don't do is overburden the government. I mean, they can only do so much.
Right.
So our target was also very much private sector. We were also targeting the third sector and civil society. And this is because they probably interact more with the normal Mwananchi Wanjiko on a day-to-day basis more than the government does. So they are more equipped, and they understand more the issues that the young people are facing. So even as we're presenting these findings, they are key stakeholders for this report. So we're not saying the government needs to do everything. But even as young people, one of the things that, as Michael has said, the issue of employment was very strong in the report. Another thing that also came out was that many young people would actually like to venture into entrepreneurship rather than now just do the normal 8 to 5 jobs. So if we can be able to find spaces for mentorship and to support young people in that, then in that way I think the issue that you're raising of brain drain may, we'll use that capacity here and the brains here and the skills here.
I really like this, what this report actually showed me is, by the way, what we always hear, that young people don't appreciate Kenya. We feel nothing for our country. This actually shocked me by saying that 91% of Kenyans the young people in Kenya are actually patriotic and actually want to stay at home. And they also cited, of course, corruption being one of the crippling things in this country that stops us from going forward. And of course, as always, you've got to know someone or have an uncle or something in order for you to move ahead, right? Michael, do you also think that young people also have a very, very huge role to play in the ongoing of corruption in Kenya? As much as we say, by the way, it's the leaders. Are young people also participating in that issue of corruption?
I think if we turn around to look at it from the perspective of youth, young people in Kenya, we have to look at the circumstances, the context that young people in Kenya are standing from. There's a lot of competition. There's resourcefulness. Young people in Kenya they're not lacking in resourcefulness. There's also resources in Kenya, but as a country, I think we haven't done enough to level the ground for young people in Kenya. For instance, unemployment is a big issue, and self-employment is probably a solution, maybe in one way or another. But doing self-employment in Kenya is not really easy for young people. Starting a business or just setting up an enterprise is not easy. So we have to operate from where we are, from the circumstances that we are in, for us to move forward. It's about the circumstances that we are in. So it's about bending moralities for you to survive.
If I can just jump in there, I mean, what we heard from all the young people we spoke to was they don't like corruption, they don't want to participate, but sometimes they feel they're almost pressurized into playing the patronage card. Who you know, not what you know. But I think the message was loud and clear that Kenya's next generation don't want what they call this rigged, broken system. They want something else.
Okay, so now that we've got this report here with us, you're actually holding it. Maybe you can even, I don't know if your camera can actually zoom in on that. That is the Next Generation Kenya report that just came out on the 17th of April. Now, with these findings, tell me, what has the task force, the British Council, done in terms of now relaying, this information to the government? So far, have you been in talks with the relevant people?
We have, especially now the Ministry of Youth and Gender. So they were actually the chief guest we had a representative, Honorable Rachel Shebesh.
Okay.
Was our chief guest during the launch.
Yes.
We've also engaged with the Youth Fund. We are also targeting, because education came out very strongly, we're also targeting the Ministry of Education and the Institute of Curriculum Development.
Yeah.
So in terms of government, those are the institutions that we are primarily working with for now.
Okay.
In private sector, we are working with KEPSA.
Okay.
So we are relaying this information to them. They have copies of the report. We had discussions with them even before we launched the report. And we are hoping now that we can have more structured engagement on the specific issues that emerged, and how even as a task force we can be able to support the government to be able now to do policy review.
Right.
I'm sure you're aware the national youth policy is currently under review. So if you can have any input on that, even as a task force, just to volunteer our time and our skills, that would really go a long way.
Okay. Were there any pledges made?
There were.
Okay.
The Honourable Rachel Shebesh was formidable at the launch on Tuesday. She said she's been looking for a task force, and now she has found one.
Okay.
Because the young people, Jackie among them, Michael and his colleagues, presented the findings of the report at the launch on Tuesday. And she was hugely impressed, and she said, I want you young people. And the same thing happened when we launched the Next Generation Tanzania report. So that's one positive follow-up to the launch of the report.
All right. Okay, so before we can have a call to action and tell audiences how you know they can also plug in, one of the things I want to find out is what's your word of advice to young people on how they can create positive, constructive platforms amongst themselves to air their issues without resorting to violence? Maybe Michael, you could probably tell us about that, because as young people, we've seen this in the news. We come across it that the first thing that we're going to do is get violent if we have a problem. How do we go about creating something like almost what you guys have,
Well, first of all, let's embrace the age that we are in, which is the information age. And because of that, there's a lot of constructive engagements, conversations that are going on online, on Twitter, on Facebook. If you take time to look beyond the common hashtags and fights we have with there are constructive conversations going on, but what maybe we are lacking is transforming this conversations that are happening online, in the online space, into the policy space.
Right.
So maybe that's an area we can try and improve on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to add to what Michael has said, I think even we're in the information age. I personally learned about the review of the National Youth Policy on Facebook. So there's something that was going around. So we get such invitations. But I don't think as young people we are quickly taking them up as we ought to. So I think it would be important that we also engage on that platform. So when you see there's something going on, if the county government puts out a public participation for the national youth policy or whatever they're trying to do, go there, let your voice be heard in person rather than just on Facebook or Twitter. So engage even on such platforms, because the information is there.
Young people, it's the time of your life where you make noise. Now you can make you can make peaceful noise. I mean, in South Africa, the Next Generation South Africa report, they've just had fees must fall, a huge protest around the cost of accessing higher education. It is a time, but there is frustration if young people aren't given a platform. What comes through loud and clear, and Michael said it, is that young people know what they want and they have the solutions within them. And while they respect their elders, particularly in the African context, they want to be given a greater role in decision making because they have the solutions. They know what is good for the country they're so passionate about. So like you said, they need to go out there, also be proactive, try and find out what's going on around you. Okay, so that being said, guys, I know we don't have that much time, we're just about to wrap up, but how can the youth actually access key players in of course this particular initiative that you've got going on? I mean, a quick one from me, two things. One, go onto the British Council website, that's britishcouncil.co.ke. They can read the full report, all the social media channels are there under the hashtag MyVoiceCounts, and they can participate. come along to the Alchemist on Thursday night. We're having a free youth celebration of the Next Generation Kenya report. 6 o'clock Thursday evening, the 26th at the Alchemist. But go onto the website and join the Next Generation social media channels.
Okay. And it's open to anybody who would like to participate, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. So we want to just sign up, or they'll get more details online.
For the launch, the Alchemist,
or even just for Next Generation in particular.
For the Next Generation, I think for now the main thing is to have a look at the report, see how it affects you, and see how you can, even in your own space, how you can be able to influence any form of change. It doesn't have to be, you're coming up with a new policy. You can just do something small wherever you are.
Okay. All right. So can we stop it there? Can I say thank you so much? My director tells me we are out of time. But Thursday it is?
Thursday, Alchemist.
6 p.m. What did you call it? A youth celebration, what?
Yes, lots of great bands, Nairobi Horns and others.
Hat the Band will be there.
Hat the Band.
DNG, yes. So
you guys know how to throw it down. You know how to wrap up this report.
Well, Hat the Band will be wrapping the findings of the report. So that's worth listening to.
Nice. I like it. Well done. I love the selection already. Well, you've heard it for yourself. We're definitely going to be meeting up at the Alchemist on Thursday, 6 p.m. of course, for a party as we celebrate, of course, this report that has just been released by the British Council. Of course, it is the Next Generation Kenya report. I do want to say a big thank you to Tony Riley, who is the country director of British Council Kenya. We also do have Michael Opondo from Next Generation Kenya, and he is a task force member. Jacqueline Mathenge, also thank you very much, another task force member from Next Generation Kenya. We do want to say on behalf of everybody right here at Y in the Morning, thank you so much for keeping it Y254.